Welcome to our session on the 4 pillars of choir in music ministry. I'm Emily Floyd, and it's my pleasure to spend some time with you today talking about this. So let's get started. What are the 4 pillars for choirs? The first pillar is musical, very obvious. The second pillar is social. The third pillar is the emotional pillar, and the fourth is spiritual. This concept was introduced to me by Randy Edwards, who is the founder of YouthQ, and if you're a youth choir director, I encourage you especially to check out YouthQ. It's great, and Randy's books are wonderful. What happens if one of these 4 pillars is not as strong as the others? Say some wonderful singers have left your choir and you know that this coming season the musical pillar won't be as strong. Well, the other 3 pillars will carry the weight of the choir. So that's the good news. While you can focus more on those other 3 that are going to be stronger, you can also still work on the one that's weak and bring that up to snuff. Some of these are really challenging during this pandemic. Let's strategize about this. The musical pillar. Repertoire is everything. When you're selecting repertoire, taking a look at the text, is it a rich text? Does it bring spiritual depth? Is the harmony compelling? Another really important part of selecting repertoire is thinking about the context of the song or anthem or hymn. What about the context makes this song come to life or to be more meaningful to your congregation? These are really important questions to ponder. Something that's on everyone's mind right now is when it's not possible to make music together, how can we continue the music? Well, we're getting really creative, and one thing that I'm thinking about is that the music learning must continue. So I plan to make some YouTube videos and pick some concepts to teach to the choir. Perhaps it's intervals, how to spot it on a page. What do intervals sound like? Can you audiate them? Can you identify them when you hear them? So some sort of music learning lesson. But the thing that I would encourage you all to do as we're focusing on music learning is to include the other pillars as a part of that video. Some sort of spiritual component, some sort of emotional component, and some sort of social or community component along with that music learning video. Another idea is that you can select some anthems, either recordings or YouTube clips that you want them to listen to, and study those critically so that you can begin to develop a repertoire of spoken, named, shared comments or ways to categorize your listening and critique. The second pillar is the social pillar. And the main component that we're going to discuss today is this idea of extended time. We all know that when we spend extended time together, those relationships deepen. Think about someone you love and think about how that relationship deepened in times that you spent extended time together. Trips is the #1 thing that kind of comes to mind, and it's difficult to even think about taking a trip during this COVID time, but once it's safe again, if your adult choir can travel or your youth choir can travel, or say even your children take a little mini tour or they go to a worship conference or camp, that extended time together, Vacation Bible School, that helps to form relationships. Hopefully you have some parties as a part of your routine and that your choir officers are developing ways that they can enrich the party experience so that there's lots of social opportunity there. One thing I'm taking advantage of during this COVID time is group texting. I might select my 10th grade boys or the rising 6th graders or those altos. I haven't talked to them in a while, so I'm going to make a group chat and just encourage us to be in conversation with one another and interacting. Another thing that I'm sure most of us have been using is the Zoom tool, the Zoom platform. How it hits us when we see the faces of our choir members. We didn't know we needed it so badly until we see their faces. The Zoom platform also has a chat feature that you can talk to one another, and the breakout rooms, that's a really effective tool for large choirs to get into smaller groups and give them a prompt to talk about, or just let them check in with one another. It's a great way to encourage the social part, the community building part of choir. If you've got a youth choir, I would encourage you to think about some social time built into the 30 minutes prior to the rehearsal. They can come at any time and have a snack during that time, and you can even facilitate some ways that kids who are less connected and kids who've got some leadership skills, you can pair them together for some social time. And then obviously giving a break during the rehearsal makes more opportunity for social interactions. Here's the brilliant thing. Events that combine work and play are magic. Choirs are happier when they're working. People are happier when they have a goal and they're working. Think about a masterwork that you've put in front of your choir, Messiah or For a Requiem, something like that, and it falls flat the first couple of weeks until that work has been invested and you've got the payoff of that feeling of satisfaction and meaning. If you combine that with the anticipation of laughter and play, that is just a magical combination. So think of some ways for retreats or extended rehearsals that you can combine work and play. Let's talk about some ways to encourage social interaction within the rehearsal. Try this. Hey guys, take out this piece and stand anywhere you want to in the room. Miss Emily, anywhere I want to? Yep. With middle school boys, the answer is yes, yes. You just want them mixing it up socially. I want to stand on the top of a chair. Fine, yes. So letting them stand anywhere, sometimes it gives singers a chance to get near another singer, and that gives them comfort. There may be some sort of mentor situation where I know that tenor sounds really good and I want to sing by him. So off they go. You can prompt them then to stand by somebody different, and their whole body language will change. It's a delight to get to sit in a different place, particularly if a singer doesn't know folks on the other side of the room, or particularly if they don't like where they sit. Getting to stand somewhere else is awesome. For teenagers, mix up the grades. You can't stand by someone who's in your grade. That often gives a fruit basket turnover, so they're really mixing it up. And obviously you can work with one section and give the other sections a break, give them some free time. Let's talk about the emotional pillar. This one's hard to define. I categorize this in my mind with leadership and mentorship. During this COVID time, as we've been gathering via Zoom, some of the leadership by our student officers and the leaders within our adult choir, some of our officers, and then other lay just singers have been giving these sermonettes and sharing this really meaningful observations that they've made. It brings us to tears. It's been so rich. So I have often underestimated the emotional pillar, and as I've been at this for a while, I'm realizing that not only do we need to focus on that for teenagers, but really adults have this whole spectrum of emotional development, particularly with aging, or they're in a sandwich situation where they're taking care of parents and taking care of their children, or if they're a new parent. There's a lot of emotional development going on. Name that emotional development, share it with them or share it with the parents. Oh, you are really glowing. You're really settling in. I know it's been a difficult time, but I see you're sort of rising. Give them a way of naming that and feeling good about that. If there is a disgruntled choir member, maybe they're kind of acting out in a way that tells you they've got a pastoral need, don't shy away from the one-on-one meeting. Hey, I'd like to meet with you. Could we get together? If it needs to be a phone call, that's better than an email, but I see you, I hear you, I need to talk to you about something that's difficult or what's going on. That one-on-one meeting is magic. And the last pillar is the spiritual pillar, creating that depth. Singing scripture is always enriching. If you've got a mission statement, I would encourage you to start that way and to get buy-in from your folks and post that in your room, in your rehearsal space. Make sure everyone knows it. You could develop a choir prayer that you say together. If you've got some thematic material that will help with spiritual depth, perhaps for Advent you've got this thematic thing that you're trying to accomplish, or there's a concert built on a concept, that is very meaningful. And then lastly, ask them if the music you're singing is expressing their faith. That's a really rich question, and they'll want to ponder and reflect about that. And you get really good information when you get some free response answers from them, written or verbal. This work is really important and challenging, so my charge for you as we part ways here is to be a guardian of tradition and a steward of potential. Best wishes during this pandemic time, and I hope you'll give some thought to the 4 pillars.